Hey everyone, it's the latest Sleepy Vlog. Damien here. I've got kind of a random assortment of things to talk about this evening, and I just been postponing putting out a vlog for quite a while, and so I just thought I'd do it because I'm thinking of doing after this I'm going to do a short hiatus from doing videos on YouTube. I'll still be out there watching other people's videos and commenting. I have removed myself from Twitter for a while too, just because I don't know. I need to change my focus a little bit, and Twitter was always distracting me. I really love being on the YouTube community and feel like I have lots of good friends here, so I'm definitely not ending that, but I just feel the need for a break. I think, it's just like, I just don't want to, I want to clear my head, I guess is what I want to do. So, there's, is that Bruce Wayne or is that Batman? Okay, or is that Adam West? As many of you know, these are pictures that I got from Shaun a while back when he did a whole series of Batman 66 drawings. He sold them to me for they're ridiculously good. So these are the two that I framed, but I have some more. Anyway, and that kind of brings me to one of my first subjects, which is just this evening I sponsored Shaun in his Indiegogo campaign to, sorry, I'm fiddling with my tripod. This is now gives you a very weird angle on Alfred, if I can keep the thing from falling over. I sponsored Shaun on his Indiegogo campaign to finance himself to go to school in America, to go to an American college that has a strong illustration art program. And I just funded him. I chose not to ask for a perk because I feel I've gotten so many perks from Shaun in the past, and he's a great friend of mine, but the perks will be really great, drawings on this caliber or better. And Shaun had been wanting people to get the word out about this. And in my conversations with him, he has said that, he'd hoped that a lot of people would give a little bit of money, each person giving a little bit. And obviously some people will want to give more or, give the donations that will get them the sketches and the drawings. And I think I gave pretty generously because of my friendship with Shaun. I wouldn't want to really tell anyone how to spend their money. I don't even feel comfortable telling people to buy comic books that I like, although that seems to end up happening by accident anyway. However, I do want to get out the word for anyone who might be interested. My understanding that the reason Shaun is doing this is because he lives on a relatively poor island nation of about 1 million people. He may be the only professional comic book artist there, and I think he feels there's a lot of gaps to his knowledge, and perhaps the only way to really make this a career that can last and have legs is to sort of hook up with the American market. And so I think he's very excited to go to school for art because he's self-taught, but he also, I think, is kind of hitting a dead end in Trinidad. Their economy's failing at the moment, and just a bunch of other troubles. So I think it makes a lot of, his desire to go to an American school makes a lot of sense. He turns to Indiegogo because I presume he can't get student loans, American student loans. That's for the American students. So that he's going to try this way. And he tells me also that he chose Indiegogo. Well, not all of these fundraising things will work for international people, but he also chose Indiegogo because even if he doesn't fulfill the goal with Indiegogo, he'll get the money and then he'll work on other ways to get the rest of the money. Because he needs quite a lot of money to get into this program. They don't offer great tuition rates for foreign students either. So I'm not telling anyone to donate, but you might want to look into this some more if you feel like being a sponsor to an artist. I will link to the Indiegogo page. I will link to Shaun's Twitter account, because that seems to be the best way to get a good look at his art and a sense of what he's up to. He also has a YouTube channel, and I'll link to that, and maybe he will, start becoming more active there. He has done some sketch videos recently, and the video sort of explaining or quickly going into this Indiegogo effort. Let's see, is that gonna? But the one thing I wanted to point out was, whatever the good things about Indiegogo, it's a little awkwardly set up. You can't see what the perks are here. But if you hit donate now, and then when you get to the donate page, you can click add perk, and that's when you see what you can get. For $25, you can get a sketch card for $10, digital art, $50 sketch art, $100 art. So if you feel like getting some art and helping a guy out in advancing himself, then this is a good way to go. I guess that's not very focused. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I'm also thinking about funding Jack Katz, who's also on Indiegogo. He is, 87 years old, and most famous at this point for his work on the, what was it called, the Something Kingdom. The, I'm sorry, I should know this very well because I've spent a good portion of my life thinking about it. The First Kingdom, yeah. So I definitely want to support him producing the next volume that he wants to do, but I'm kind of disappointed in the perks because I would like a perk that would just be I pay whatever and then I get a copy of the next volume, kind of advanced ordering, and that's not an option here. So I'm trying to think about what to do. He's just trying to raise money to be able to work full-time on his art for, a few months, I think. So anyway, I think I'll do that too. I haven't backed many people, and it's a little tricky deciding why you would back someone and what you want to get out of it. But I'm starting to feel like I should do Jack Katz. And I should remember to buy the rest of the volumes of his First Kingdom series that has only recently been printed. I should get it before it goes out of print again, because it was out of print for so long and I've been really wanting it after I gave away my original copies. Wise man that I am. Several people claim to have done the first graphic novel. This makes a strong claim to being the first graphic novel ever done. And speaking of fun things like that, things I should order from In-Stock Trades, basically. I've got from In-Stock Trades today the New Frontier, a new edition of it, a kind of omnibus. There was an absolute edition out, and maybe I'll wish I had gotten it. But I thought it would. I think this actually has more material in it. And this is still a bit oversized compared to a regular comic book. So I thought it seemed like a good deal. Oh shoot, I just ripped a comic book. Okay, I'm gonna go cry now. It's a bit bigger than a regular comic book, but I do have to say the paper inside, it's not the newsprinty kind of paper they use on the Jack Kirby omnibuses that they've been doing, but it doesn't feel like the highest quality paper to me. Maybe it's better because it's less glossy. I don't know, but it feels a bit flimsy to me, and I don't know. I'm not an expert on paper, but I sort of think maybe they saved a bit of money on the paper. But anyway, I'm really happy to have this. The colors look great. Love the cover. My poor daughter, she saw this cover and she thought it was a kid's book. And then we look inside and it's clearly kind of boring. Another interesting thing is the printed directly on the cover picture is different than the dust jacket picture, although also in this more kid-friendly style than is actually on the inside. But my memory of reading this is, enthralling and brilliant. Uses a lot of just straight-up 3-panel pages, which gives it a kind of cinematic feel, I guess. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to finding time to reread the whole of New Frontier. And then the other main thing I got from, okay, what is it hiding on me? From in this order of in-stock trades was the complete The Hammer by Kelly Jones. I've really been craving some good Kelly Jones artwork. He was pretty awesome in the backup he did in Batman. They really should pay him a lot of money and get him back on a Batman book. His art seems better than ever, and it seems really suited to modern coloring and modern printing on slick paper. It feels to me like his art in particular was the kind of art that would get kind of a bit lost on the old newsprint. This is kind of a slightly tongue-in-cheek horror series, if I understand correctly. So I'm really looking forward to digging in it. I'm just loving looking at the art, looking at the pictures. Yeah, my impression is it's supposed to be kind of goofy and funny while being a bit horrific too. Definitely can't read that with my daughter. And then in-stock trades. Pardon me as I keep turning around to find things behind me. In-stock trades had a sale on all these Alterna comics, an extreme sale, like 90% off. I think I got this one for $1 or so, or $1.25. It was originally $15. It's called Monstrosity, but it seems to basically be an anthology with this wide variety of art styles, different kind of horror stories I'm gathering. Horror to me is a really good medium for short fiction or short comic strips. So I'm pretty psyched about this, and maybe I'm going to try and get more Alterna while they're still on sale if I can from... I had no idea what I was ordering because I've never seen Alterna in the bookstores or comic book stores or anything. But that looks fun. It's nice to have stuff that's different, especially when you don't pay very much for it. It kind of seems like Alterna's not selling, so that's kind of sad. It's too bad we can't get more educated about these things in advance. Okay, here's a weird thing I want to talk about. Or no, before I do that, I'll just say, lately my daughter and I, Quacking Duck as she's known to the community, who's now 6 years old, have gone back to reading a lot of the old Kirby Lee Fantastic Four. And she's really been loving it. She particularly loves The Thing now. She really now gets the humor of The Thing and loves all the insulting he does, especially of Reed Richards, and she loves the Yancey Street Gang. But she's also more picking up on the kind of just sort of the rich inventiveness, that comes throughout throughout the best parts of this run. And before, when we read Fantastic Four, like I tried it with her a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and she was so disappointed in the character of Sue Richards, or Sue Storm at this point, I guess. I don't think they're married yet in the parts we've been reading. All she does is worry about this and that, and don't go that, we better not risk it, and no, what are we going to do? And that's every, 5 or 6 issues, her powers actually turn out to be useful for a brief moment. But, so it feels like since then we've done a great job in finding lots of girl-friendly stuff in books, in comics. The comics were harder, but in the modern kids' books that are published have lots of things written expressly for girls, or if they're written for boys and girls, the girls are given strong roles. And now it feels it's a little easier for us to go back to old stuff, because 90% of old fiction for kids is boy-oriented, and certainly all the old comic books. I just so wish that Sue Storm were a strong character in here. But anyway, it's really fun for me to go back and read these with her, and I'm impressed by them in a lot of ways. One thing I noticed, you may or may not know about the Marvel method that they were supposedly using. And so Jack Kirby was drawing it before, either on his own plot idea or on a very loose plot idea that he discussed with Stan Lee. So you kind of almost in captions at times you kind of sense Stan Lee trying to figure out what's happening next, or explain away something. And I think sometimes he doesn't quite know why Jack Kirby has switched scenes. And so there's frequently these captions that say, and now, I guess that was enough of that, so we'll go do something else. I couldn't find the ultimate best example of that, but here we were for a little while in the story with Inhumans, and then we switched back to Wakanda. And Stan Lee writes, and that frantic one is all we'll see of the Inhumans this ish. We just wanted to whet your appetite a bit. Besides, it's time to visit Wakanda. So come on, the safari's just leaving. I just can imagine Lee kind of vamping all the time, trying to figure out, what Kirby was up to. I know there were little notes to him from Jack, but I think he still was trying to guess what Jack's intentions might have been here and there. And I have even if Jack Kirby really came up with everything, a lot of the charm of these books still comes from Stan Lee. I still think the team is important here. So yeah. It's wonderful to read. I almost, if I ever had time, like to do like a series of videos just focusing on some favorite issues of the Fantastic Four. In fact, if I can remember, I'll put a link down below. There's this fantastic podcast right now by the Wait What podcast. It's kind of a sub-podcast called The Baxter Building, where they're going to go through, I think, the first 200 or first 400 issues of the Fantastic Four, and they're up to like issue 24 so far. They've done 2 12-issue podcasts. But it's really fun to hear that they're kind of over-intellectualized explanation or analysis of everything going on here. So I guess I kind of wanted to lead up with that about clearly in this household we do a lot of work to find strong material for a young girl to read. And I was at the library 2 days ago, and suddenly overheard this daughter and father arguing. And they were by the movie section. And the daughter was holding 2 Barbie movies in her hands desperately. And the father was telling her they couldn't take them out. Absolutely no Barbie movies, that they're bad for you. And she was, why? And they're full of bad gender roles and bad body images. And she was so upset and so angry, and you could tell she wanted to throw a little fit. And he was telling her, if you keep pushing this, we'll leave and we won't get anything from the library at all. And and then she said, well, we could get it, and when there's the bad gender parts, you could tell me to close my eyes. And I reacted to this really strongly. I really wanted to go up to him and tell him a thing or two about the Barbie movies, because my daughter has watched about 18 Barbie movies now. We discovered them about 6 months ago, and we've been slowly going through them. She has some Barbie dolls. I guess their bodies are, the legs are way too long, and their feet don't touch the ground. Sometimes they have tails. So anyway, how was I gonna explain this? So, but really, if you watch the Barbie movies, they are full of everything a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old girl would love. Here's 2. This one's about fairies and Fairytopia. And this one's about a girl who was a castaway on an island and learned to talk to the animals. And then when she's brought back to civilization and a prince falls in love with her, adventures ensue. And they're crudely computer animated. They look like dolls in the movie. I think they kind of underplay the out of proportionness of the traditional Barbie, but they also feature almost entirely female casts. The females, if there are any males, compared to the males, are the active characters who do things, who save the day, who have all kinds of talents and skills. But it's just a world for girls. And I just wanted to tell him these aren't filled with bad gender role models, etc. And it's funny because I think a long time ago now, Barbie was held up as kind of the exemplar of what was wrong about the way we raised girls. And maybe it was a useful whipping boy, if you will, at the time, but I don't think it makes that much sense anymore. Certainly all kinds of other things have much worse ridiculous body imagery to them than Barbie. And these movies, I think, are just fabulous. That probably, some boys would love them if they watched them and weren't afraid to watch girl movies. They're just marvelous fantasies, musicals. There's one where Barbie gets a magical pair of ballet slippers, and which cause her to travel from one ballet to another, and try to figure out how to get out of the ballets where the heroine is doomed and stuff, and try to not have that doom happen to her as she inhabits the roles. Anyway, it sounds silly, but as movies for young kids, I'm actually very impressed by the Barbie movies. And I have to say that I never thought I would be. I was not eager to get Barbie movies for my daughter. It was kind of when we had used up all the other movies about fairies while she was obsessed with fairies, that we got her Barbie, you know, Fairy Mariposa or whatever that was called, and it turned out to be great. So I really wanted to tell this guy, but it's funny that in the world of political correctness, which fills the town I live in, that sort of demonization of Barbie is huge. And I've had discussions with so many parents about how they tried to not let their daughters have Barbies and finally would give in because, of course, all the daughters want Barbies. And the reason why listening to this girl and her incredible emotional pain at being denied these Barbie movies struck such a deep chord in me, it emotionally hooked into these memories of myself as a kid, because my parents, which some of you know who've watched my old videos, were all about no comics, no TV, no science fiction books, no rock and roll. They wanted me to listen to classical music and read the classics, even at like age 8 or whatever. And hearing this battle between the daughter and father, I felt this strong emotional reaction. I just really felt angry at that father. So I was really angry at my parents for the denial of stuff that appealed to my imagination. And actually, eventually, I have won the battle with my parents. But despite that, I still, sort of harbor this anger at them, which I've grown up, and I realize my anger at my parents is not rational, and I don't hold it against my parents anymore. But it's funny how it's like my parents grew up, or probably were young teens at the time, that they were burning comic books. And that they were saying, this whole seduction of the innocent thing. And that stuck with them. It permanently became a part of their mind, comic books bad, as it's permanently become a part of at least some part of American culture, Barbie dolls bad. Barbie dolls destroy young girls, even though we're not paying attention to all the other bad imagery that young girls get. But I think you can't deny, that girl is going to possibly end up hating the word gender roles, hating the word, bad body images, and longing for Barbie. You have to present your kids with all kinds of ideas and options, and you can't tell them, this is bad for you, you can never look at it in the long run. Especially something that's expressly designed to appeal to them. Anyway, that's my opinion. I see that I've already gone on much longer than I planned. So, I guess I will call it a day there. Thanks for joining me, and I will be watching your videos, and I will be back in time when I've mentally rested, I guess, and gotten some other stuff done. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.